And I hope everyone is okay with recording. Let me know otherwise. So I am Hara Lampos. I will pass it down to Adrienne Schmoker, former Deputy Director of Analytics for New York City, who motivated and put together today's global panel along with Jackie Libby. Thank you, Adrienne, and thank you to all our panelists for being here today.
Thank you so much, Harlampos, and also to Juan and Jackie and the greater CUSP program for hosting us today. Greatly appreciated. I'm just going to give a very quick overview of this program and then hand things over to the 6 cities that we have presenting today. So as Harlampos mentioned, my name is Adrienne Schmoker. I'm a senior fellow at the GovLab at NYU Tandon, former Deputy Chief Analytics Officer for the City of New York, and a director at the Mayor's Office of Data Analytics. I'm supporting the Open Data Policy Lab, an initiative in partnership with Microsoft, helping to accelerate responsible data reuse. And the cornerstone of our work at the Open Data Policy Lab is helping realize the 3rd wave of open data. Part of this involves building capacity and driving impact in data reuse at the subnational level, which is why we developed the City Incubator earlier this year. This is a 6-month program that launched in September of 2021. It runs through March of 2022. And we're working with 10 cities around the world, 6 of whom you're going to hear from today. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and hand things back over to Harlampos to introduce our first presenter. Thanks for tuning in today, everyone.
Yes, so our first presenter will be Andrea Calderon from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Go ahead, Andrea.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. All right, so today I will be speaking about the Albuquerque Equity Index. I'll be sharing a part of our tool that we'll be prototyping and sort of the initial stages of what that looks like. Albuquerque is located in New Mexico in the southwest of the US. We have a population of about 564,000, almost half of which identify as Hispanic or Latino. And so pretty large, I guess we would call it minority majority state or a global minority, as we like to call it. And so a good portion of those folks identify race-wise as white. It's an interesting combination of things. And so talking about the city a little bit, we've got 31 departments and offices located in a couple of bureaus, the Public Safety Bureau, the Public Health Bureau, Internal Services, Direct Services, and Community Development. A little bit of background about our equity frameworks within the city. We passed Equity Ordinance R2075 in September of 2020. Section 7 of which is data specific. So it requires the city to complete a data collection plan, demographic and geospatial data, and use that for the delivery of services and programs and community engagement, as well as an identification of indicators and annual reporting. So to talk a little bit about the product that we're looking at, we've got a timeline here. So the Office of Equity and Inclusion expanded in September of 2019. It was first launched in 2018 after the inauguration of Tim Keller. Then September 2020, about a year later, we passed Equity Bill R2075 after several BLM marches related to the killing of George Floyd. And then in November 2021 is when the City Incubator launched. Currently, we're in the model and testing and community engagement design process. So I'll share a little bit about that as we move forward. Sorry, not at the beginning. So the framework that we're using is a systems transformation framework. We're looking at data governance, adopting an equity lens, focusing on community priority areas, product design, and iterative evaluation and redesign of our products. The data governance process within the Cumulative Impacts Project, which is looking at cumulative impacts on overburdened communities that have been facing significant air quality impacts because of their surrounding, industrial area. And so we formed a citywide data team. We have interdepartmental special projects team. Bureau leadership is involved, and community partnerships have been identified. For practices, public priorities are leading the process. It answers a very specific question. What are overburdened communities, and how are they being affected by multi-facility sort of industrial areas? There has not yet been a federal EPA guidance on this process, and so we're really leading the charge with a couple of cities, as we'll see in the future, in the next few slides. And so, how do we integrate equity indicators, right? And so, what we're seeing is a lot of cities are in this exclusionary phase. Some of our processes in the city are also at this phase unintentionally, where we do not have a lot of transparency in our data collection methods. And we do not use race and ethnicity. Our sort of policies and data use is race neutral. So what we're really trying to move is towards structural transformation. Internal research that we've done includes comparison of a couple of states, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and California, which have led the way in cumulative impact at work, and then identifying overburdened communities. And so the stakeholders that we're engaging are community, internal, and regulatory bodies, all related to air quality. And in order to look at our equity and to have an equity infused design and build process, we are using the basic design principles of identifying a purpose and demand, but also asking whose demand is being met, whose priority areas, right, are we addressing? And so really combining a number of questions related to equity and the kinds of insights that we're getting and how that informs our product design and build. Currently, we have activated our data stewards. Data sets have been identified. They're both internal and external. Community priorities have been identified. Several years ago, there was a pretty extended study that the community actually conducted themselves with a local organization. And then community consultants are currently being onboarded in order to give us further direction. And so we're planning on applying that feedback to our build process, which you can see here, and then adopting suggested changes. One huge discovery we've made is a project prioritization tool that the Mid-Council region of governments has developed. And so this actually is a tool that not only combines public-facing data that's readily available to us, but they've been able to contract a private consultant in order to combine a data set specifically around vegetation coverage and tree density. So some of those mitigating factors to air quality that would protect communities. Again, some of the sort of cumulative impact analysis that we're adding to what already exists, the framework, is really looking at respiratory health factors per census tract, understanding historic context, identifying current data sets available, such as heat island measurements, and looking at the technology that's being used and sort of limitations on the regulations that require the number of air quality technologies that are currently installed and the way that they measure the impact.
Andrea, we are at the 5-minute mark.
Great. Well, I am wrapping up. So thank you so much. That is pretty much it for us. Again, I'm part of the Office of Equity and Inclusion at the City of Albuquerque. And a lot of the work around our data collection, collaboration, and compilation is led by our Albuquerque Geospatial Information Systems Office, really incredible asset to the city. And thank you to the GovLab for providing an opportunity for us to participate in this program. That's it for me.
Thank you, Andrea. Next speaker will be Emery Brickner from Sheva, Israel. Go ahead, Emery.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to present our data innovation which deals with important resource of all municipalities around the world, which we believe is undermanaged, which is its NGOs, volunteers, and volunteering. And actually, this data innovation deals with the most important layer of a city, which is its people. First, a little bit about myself. I'm a geologist and urban planner. I have a diverse experience in the public sector, and at my former work, I worked at the Dead Sea Drainage Authority. You can see the beautiful picture. And today I run the Smart City department of the Sheva Municipality. We have lots of data innovations, but actually this data innovation is the first one that deals with welfare issues. So it's very interesting for me. A little bit about Sheva. It's a student city, lots of high-tech centers, a desert metropolitan that gives services to many villages and cities around. Relatively to Israel, it's quite a big city. And also it's mentioned in the Bible, Book of Genesis. But also, relative to big cities in Israel, socioeconomic rank is quite low. We have lots of NGOs and non-profits organizations, over 800, but we don't know much about it. And we know that every year about 3,000 volunteers volunteer in Beersheba, but we don't know much about it. We have one Excel spreadsheet for all this data with about 5 columns. So this is actually the project. Volunteering is very important for central governments, but like many urban issues, something is going wrong between the central government and the local government. You can see that also in Israel and the United States, there are some decisions and moves that try to embrace and encourage volunteering for public goals. But we have a problem, and the problem, and I hope I'm not insulting anyone because my brother is also a social worker, that the people that work with people usually have tunnel vision. They see the person, as you can see here. They see the individual, and also many times the digital or literacy is quite low. So the problem is that we don't have peripheral vision. We don't see the whole picture. And the solution, the conceptual solution is to create a central vision. We want to see if we speak in data language, we want to have fine, sharp, straight-ahead vision. Okay, we want to build a tool that will allow us to see the whole picture. We want to know the relationships between NGOs, between neighborhoods and NGOs, between people and volunteering. So how are we planning to do it? Like every data project, we have 3 main pillars, the user, the business question, and the data source. Because for our organization, it's quite innovative, we select only one stakeholder for now, because it's a prototype project. It's an NGO, umbrella NGO of the municipality, which calls REM, that runs all the volunteering that the municipality knows. I emphasize it because it's not all the volunteers in Beersheba, but only what we know, which is about 10%. The business questions. Generally speaking, we want to connect between supply and demand. I will give you an example. If we have a certain neighborhood that we know all the demographics about it, and we know that there are lots of immigrants that came from Russia, and there's only one NGO that runs volunteering to encourage education and language skills, and there are 10 more in Israel, we want to reach out them, or we want to allocate better the volunteers to this neighborhood. So when we talk about supply, we have the NGOs, we have the volunteers, we have the supply we know, and we would like to present what we don't know nationally. And we have the demand. And the demand, it's a basket or a bucket of data that we have it quite good. We have the population, we have the demographics, we have the crime. So all of this leads us to the data source. As you will see soon, we go open. To open data, we have open data portal. We use the open data Ministry of Justice, the National Open Data. And we want to go proactive because right now the data we have it's quite poor. We understand we need to form new data using a form. So what is the framework or the architecture of the problem? We have the national data set and the municipal data set. From the open data group, the government open data, we take the NGOs. It's a very good data set, updates every day of the Ministry of Justice.
Emery, we're at 5 minutes.
Okay, no problem. And also we take another data about crime. We create the form for the REM umbrella NGO. And we use the open data portal for the demographics. And we want to export data in different scales, a city scale, a neighborhood scale, and the statistical area scale, also to help us to use the privacy issues. And we want to make it open, not only for RAM. Our timeline, as I said, right now, we have a challenge of lack of IT resources for many reasons. So we want to build a prototype for a month from now. And later on, we have another challenge to assimilate new organizational workflow with the form. And later on, we hope to create an history of data. And to conclude, when we talk about municipalities, doing good means using NGOs and using volunteers. So we hope that this project will help us do more good deeds with volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you, Emery. And our next speaker is Danny Purchase from Springfield, Missouri.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I want to thank really quick the team at CUSP and the team at GovLab for the opportunity to share about what we've been doing here in Springfield, Missouri, and also just to get to work alongside so many great communities that are doing a lot of wonderful things for their community and their citizens. So jumping into a little bit about me, as I said, my name is Danny Purchase, and I work for the City of Springfield as a development project facilitator. I've been in this role for March will be 1 year, so fairly new to the city. And one of the reasons that they created this new position was to really be a liaison between public and private sector. So they wanted someone to help bridge those gaps, be a mediator, and be one to communicate between the two entities. And so within that, one of the primary roles that I've been working on in this role in a year has been process improvement, looking at the different processes that the private sector has to undergo when they work with us as the city, and seeing what opportunities do we have to be more efficient and make their process easier and ultimately make it better for everyone. A little bit about our community. So Springfield, Missouri is located in the state of Missouri. It's the 3rd largest city. We have roughly a population of 170,000 with our metro population just under 500,000. A little bit about kind of our community. Outdoors is really a major theme and a major activity that a lot of our citizens take part in. We're the home of Bass Pro Shops, which is probably one of the largest outdoor brands in the world. So with that company having such a significant presence, we have a major connection to nature and in the outdoors. Additionally, we're home to a lot of large entities, O'Reilly Auto Parts and BKD, a large accounting firm. So there's certainly that spirit of entrepreneurship and startup and growing businesses here in Springfield. So jumping into the problem that we're looking to address with this project, this is one that many municipalities face, and that's measuring success. So what we're hoping to do with this project is to really find a really succinct way to measure our success as a city, to show to our different stakeholders how we're performing and where the opportunities are to improve. Additionally, I think this is always something that municipalities can improve in to be more accountable, to be on task and to work towards goals. So that's another thing that we're hoping to answer. And as always, looking at ways to be more transparent. So showing our citizens what we're actively doing with their tax dollars, showing them how we're doing towards accomplishing those goals, being more transparent with the general public. So our solution that we've been working on for the past year or so has been to create a KPI, key performance dashboard for city departments. Currently, we're working with these 6 departments to establish key performance indicator measures to show both city departments, staff, and key stakeholders how we're performing as a city. As I said, this is a way to increase transparency, create accountability among staff, and really a way for us to move more towards being proactive versus reactive. This next slide shows kind of a highlight of some of the, there's a lot of text there, but a lot of the ways that we help the departments initially create their measures. So we wanted to have a consistent platform in which departments that do very different things create measures to target and measure their success. So we wanted them to focus on things that ultimately they do have control over and things that they have an impact on from their day-to-day operations. When we're talking about stakeholders, certainly my role is based in the city manager's office, and the department that's leading this effort and this initiative are department heads. So the 6 department heads of the 6 current departments that we're working with, those have been the key contacts that have helped us develop these measures for those 6 departments. Our information services, that is how we refer to our IT department. They've been critical in collecting the data that we already have that we just simply haven't been really using. And so they've been a key part. Also the staff that are the ones that help us drive a lot of the change, and certainly our community partners and our citizens that are always eager to see what we're working on. Of course, no project goes without its challenges. So some of the challenges that we've faced early on in working through this project have been that of culture change. So certainly, like I mentioned, we have access to a lot of data, access to a lot of information, but we simply haven't been using it to make decisions or to drive change. So encouraging staff to really use the measures and the data that they have access to drive change, that's been certainly a work in progress to change that culture. Additionally, reports. So we have access to lots of data, but now we need to bring it into cohesive reports. So working with our information services team to get those reports done, and that can sometimes be a lengthy process in working amongst different key partners. And then of course, consistency. So consistency in reports, consistency in data collection. That matrix that I showed at the beginning is one of the ways that we hope to address some of that consistency. But certainly with having 6 departments that do so many different things, that's something that we're mindful of as we move forward with this project. In terms of where we're at, this started just in the summer of last year, shortly after I started at the city. And this shows the timeline of where we're at current date. In the next months, we hope to start pulling that data, start to actually create those custom reports to populate on our website, and to slowly expand this to citywide beyond just the 6 departments. And also to hopefully, we're in the process of working through hiring someone full-time to dedicate their time solely to this initiative. So it's a great project to work on, and certainly has support from our leadership. With that, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to your questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. And the next speaker is Luciano Santoni from Mendoza City, Argentina.
Hi, everyone. thank you, you all for being present. It is an honor to meet you. On behalf of the municipality of the city of Mendoza, I would like to thank the entire team of GovLab and CASP for this opportunity. Well, I'm going to tell you about our data innovation called Smart Traffic Incident Collection and Reporting System. Well, I'll be introducing you during this time. My name is Luciano Pedro Santoni. I'm 28 years old, and I obtained my university degree in geography in 2019 from the National University of Cuyo. I am currently working as a GIS technician and analyst in the spatial data infrastructure area of the Direction of Open Government and Citizen Participation. This is a picture of our workplace. Well, to tell you a little about my city, I can say that we're a small department within the state of Mendoza in Argentina, with a little more than 120,000 inhabitants, concentrated almost 100% in the urban area. Our form of government is Republican and representative democracy, and our economy has an important stake weight in the hand of services and commerce. In addition, we were rated as the city with the best quality of life in Argentina in 2014. So to get to the, I will put myself in context to present the problem we want to solve. This is the metropolitan area of Mendoza, which with more than 300 square kilometers of extension and more than 1 million inhabitants, is the fourth largest urban agglomeration in the country. As you can see, our city is one of the 6 municipalities that conform. So, to get to the problem, we first start by considering some factors that attract population to our city. This has have to be with political, social, economic, and cultural variables. So in this way, a total of 523,022 daily trips to the city were measured for the year 2010, being traffic congestion an important problem from which some negative impacts are related to the ones we work on, specifically traffic accidents. As you can see, last year there were more than 2,900 traffic accidents in our city. Therefore, our data innovation was born from the need of the municipal accident department to be able to digitally collect accident reports and improve the collection of statistics. So, using SRE licensed software, we thought of a 5-step solution. First, the configuration of a digital form that allows real-time loading in the field. Then we took the surveyed information and automated the generation of accident reports to speed up administrative procedures. At the same time, using previously configured visualizers and operation dashboards, we can see the information represented cartographically and statistically. And then in 2 more advanced stages, we plan to further analyze the collected data to explain the patterns of human behavior according to their spatial expression and help define some tangible solutions. And finally, to publish the results in our open portals. Well, as you can see, we have a cartographic and an open data portals. So, I'm sorry. In reference to the origin of the data, since the municipal traffic officers are the ones who respond in case of a traffic accident, all the information collected comes from these events. Then, with respect to the target users, we have initially considered the actors who directly benefit from the project. In this case, transit direction, traffic courts, drivers, and citizens. Finally, the anticipated impacts are related to the development stages of the tools. First, there are the benefits derived from the digitalization of the form and the automation of reports. It's better and more secure data collected, speeding up procedures in traffic courts, reduction of time and administrative tasks. Then the analysis of this information will allow us to make decisions to improve road safety, and finally, to achieve transparency and citizen participation by making the information collected and processed public. So, with respect to stakeholders, we take into account potential actors that will make use of this information. In this case, we divide it into private, public, and civil society, but
We're at the 5 minutes, Luciano.
Thank you. We are working inside at this moment. Well, as for challenges to be overcome, we have identified some of them as the project has developed, like the signature required for citizen consent or some problems with the notification of traffic reports, while others were previously thought of or are the result of past experiences in other projects. In this case, the availability of technology and internet in the field, training of personnel, transfer the administration of the tools, and the data collaborations and approve initiatives. And to finish the presentation, I'll show you our timeline. We have already completed 2 stages successfully, and now we are here at the point where we need to train the staff to go into the field to test the tool. So after that, data collection with the functional tool triggers the other processes. We expect to finish in the middle of this year. Thank you for your attention. Here my contact information.
Thank you, Luciano. And our next speaker is Oliver Bjornson from with New York City.
Thank you. And I'm also joined by my colleague, Cindy Nicklin, who will kick us off.
All right. First, I just want to quickly say thank you to everyone in this incubator program. It's been great to work with you and get your feedback and collaboration and learn about what you're working on. And thank you to the GovLab and the CUSP for the opportunity to present on this. So we're going to be talking today about an initiative we started in the middle of the pandemic. The continuing program is called, tentatively, NYC Data Exchange. So my name is Cindy Nicklin. I'm the Data Operations Manager here at the Mayor's Office of Data Analytics, and I'm joined by Oliver Bjornson, a policy analyst in our office. We work in New York City, which many of you are familiar with, and something that affects this program is that we just had our new mayor come on board, Mayor Adams. One of the things that his administration is really working toward is making the city more efficient. We are working for 8.4 million New Yorkers, and about 330,000 of those are city employees who are the actual customers of this initiative. So the Mayor's Office of Data Analytics, our mission is to help the city work more equitably and effectively. We were written into the city charter, and citywide data sharing is part of that mission. We have 3 main branches to our office. There's Open Data, which runs the Open Data portal and coordinates a group of open data coordinators at each of those city agencies. There's our Analytics Department, which is a team of data scientists that dig into the efficiency problems across the city. And there's data operations, which makes sure that we are effectively sharing data across the city. So the problem that we're trying to solve with this product, we learned during COVID that when an emergency of this nature comes along, you need data and you need data quickly. And a lot of the data that city agencies needed was around things like, where are all the people? Where are they spending their money? What does the economy look like? So that kind of data doesn't really come from the day-to-day operational data that we have in our city agencies. So we started looking for that elsewhere. And normally under a procurement of external data like this, a single agency would be approaching a vendor and wouldn't be thinking about getting the data on behalf of other city agencies. So we would have multiple procurements. So this initiative was a way to break down those silos, to get the data in one place and be able to offer it to all city agencies.
So our solution to the problem that Cindy just laid out is centralizing the acquisition, engineering, and distribution of those third-party data sets. So having a single entity look across city agencies to identify what those data needs are and coordinate their acquisition, cataloging what data sets were already available to city analysts because that doesn't exist in one place, and then connecting those analysts together around those data resources to help build the city's working knowledge of how to use those data sets. So our pilot program for doing this was called the New York City Recovery Data Partnership, which ran from June 2020 to December 2021. We had 15 external organization partners share data on a pro bono basis with the city to help aid in the city's COVID-19 recovery. And those are organizations that work in mobility, spending, real estate, among other sectors. We had over 80 users from across city agencies use data from the Recovery Data Partnership. And we also held regular user meetings for those agency users to meet each other, share best practices, and identify opportunities to collaborate. So some examples of success stories from that program include looking at parks visitation. So as people who were in New York at the time know, our parks served as an important oasis during the pandemic. And the Parks Department has for a long time had issues understanding how many people were visiting their parks. So the Recovery Data Partnership gave them an opportunity to explore mobility data as a solution to understand those visitation patterns without actually sending their staff out to count people by hand. We also helped our transportation department look at the impacts of bus corridors on businesses abutting those corridors, and helped our Office of Management and Budget look at the impacts of the pandemic on tax revenue.
We're at the 5 minutes over.
Thank you. So what's next for our initiative? So our pilot ended just a month and a bit ago in December. Since then, we've launched a new data catalog of the assets that we brought in through RDP, as well as some other data assets that exist around the city. We're about to finalize our first procurement, and we've been navigating that process. And we're about to relaunch our regular meetings and then think more holistically about the data architecture that we're using to share these data sets, because it's something we threw together really quickly within the pandemic. Some considerations we have moving forward for the next iteration of this initiative are identifying new data needs, learning more about the procurement process in the city, because this is something we were doing pro bono, pitching this to some of the new leadership and new technology leadership in the city to make sure it continues to get the resources and support it needs, and then thinking holistically about that data architecture and making something that's built to last. So that's it for us. Thanks so much for your attention.
Thank you both. And our last speaker is Susmita Nupeng with the Changunarayan Municipality in Nepal.
Thank you. So yeah, I'll be beginning with my introduction. Good evening, everyone here. I'm Susmita Manandar from Nepal. I'll be presenting today about our data innovation titled as Changunarayan Open Data Portal, an open data initiative to open up the municipal data sets for the public use and data-driven decision makings. So recently, the concept of open data has been in the spotlight like never before. If you look back into its history, the open data movement has been initiated since years back. And today there are more than 250 governments at national and city levels, almost 50 developed and developing countries, and large organizations such as the World Bank as well as United Nations have launched the open data initiatives, and there are lots emerging every year. So the Changunarayan Municipality is the first to approach the open data initiative here at Nepal with the realization that the government data is a public asset and needs to be open. The municipality has visioned the portal to be a one-stop data warehouse where the data from multiple sources will be integrated within a single standard format and will share the same platform for the data dissemination as well. So the portal follows the basic principles of open data, where it allows open access to datasets without any legal constraints. One will have the opportunity to willingly contribute to the portal, as we believe the active public participation develops the knowledge sharing as well as idea sharing cultures amongst the users. Along with it, the crowdsourcing of ideas enables to co-create the newer technologies and innovations that will ultimately contribute to the society. Moving on, with the open data, native citizens will be able to realize the current ecosystem of the municipality and assist the government in better policy making as well. This will also help the government in return to address the user's point of view and implement the plans and policies in accordance to that. So this acts as a bridge between this acts as a communication bridge between the municipality and the local citizens. Besides this, the Changunarayan Open Data Portal incorporates the following key elements where geospatial data is given the high prioritization. There's an interactive map section where the available data sets are spatially linked, providing better visualization of the data. So there's an additional feature for the spatial query functionality that will help facilitate the users to perceive the data as per their need. So the next major feature is the data inventory of the municipality, where each data set will be published in the machine readable formats so that the users can easily download and make use of the data in a variety of formats. The portal is also facilitated with API integrations. The API integration is also one of the component of the open data standards. So with the use of API, the developers can easily get access to the data for software developments and application developments and many more. Next is we have illustrated the list of projects that are conducted by the municipality in each fiscal year. So we've tried to make the content as dynamic as possible. So here we list out the municipal projects, the details, the budget distribution that the municipality puts into the projects. So everything, the work progress during the project, so everything will be listed out here, and people will have the data transparency through this. The next is Changunarayan Municipality is well known for its touristic point of view. So we've highlighted the tourism destinations, the heritage sites, the natural attractions that the municipality has its significance upon. Along with the data sets, not just the text files, but we've included the image files, the audio visuals, also the spatial data of each data set in this tourism module. So we can take a tour over the Changunarayan Municipality through this page or modules, I must say. So the next one is the SDGs. So here where we've tried to illustrate how the municipality is conducting the programs and contributing towards the SDGs, how to achieve, they've conducted many programs within the fiscal years, within upcoming fiscal years and last fiscal years. So how they've achieved the SDGs through those projects. So we've linked, we've linked the text in the SDG sections. So also we focused on keeping the portal's design very simple yet dynamic, so that it's easy to navigate to the portal from like a layman perspectives as well. So here are a few strategies that we are hopeful about for the portal. First being the maintaining data's quality and data standards. Obviously, giving free access to data is not the only ultimate goal of the portal, but we're trying to disseminate a qualitative data with a certain data standards. In addition to it, we're trying to perceive what types of data or which categories of the data people are more inclined to, so that we can deliver better services to live up to the users' expectations. The next milestone that we're looking forward to is civic engagement. Sure, thank you. So the next one is the civic engagement. So we're trying to focus on how to engage the users towards the portal. We've seen many portals, but however, the general public engagement is very low. So we've thought of conducting open data sensitization workshops, open data literacy boot camps, and conduct mini challenges and competitions that will make the use of data from the portal. Also, we've planned to extend the network of open data communities amongst the neighboring municipalities as well. So next one is the timely updates. Obviously, the portal needs to be updated timely. So we have facilitated the municipal officers to address their responsibility towards the portal so that they could operate the portal in the long run. So if I have to summarize the impact of Changunarayan Open Data Portal, number one, it acts as a data hub. The municipality is not just playing the role of the data supply here, but is also the primary consumer of the data set. So along with the users, the government itself has an added advantage, both as a producer as well as a consumer. The second one is the portal assists the municipality to take a step forward towards the digital approach. Since every data set is being recorded in digital format, government will save time and effort in contrast to having the paper documents. Last but not the least, data transparency that helps the government accountable towards their work, increases the public trust towards the government, which leads to the effective and efficient administrations. So the portal is not officially launched by the municipality at the present, but the work is in process. The work is under the process. We've finalized the designs, but yet there are some data uploads necessary for the portal, and the dashboard is also under preparation. So the portal will soon get launched, but we can view the system through the URL that is given below. So yes, the portal is a lead. The lead for the project is Mr. Siddhant Neopani, who is the Information Technology Officer at Changunarayan Municipality. This is me, like Susmina Mandar, and my educational background is a geomatics engineer. So yeah, thank you so much. I think I'll wrap up with my presentation right here. If we have any feedbacks or any queries regarding the portal, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you so much for having us allowing us to share our thoughts and ideas through this program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susmita, and thank you for being here this late in Nepal. So thank you, everyone. Now let's thank our speakers. So now I will open it up to questions. You can either unmute yourself. I see we have more than 30 participants, so feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or put your question in the chat. So are there any questions from the audience? Okay, I think I can start this off with a question to everyone. So if you could, if there was, I was wondering, what was this one thing in your project that was a major challenge for you and would really help you if it was addressed? It would make it easier for you to answer your question. What would that be?
Well, I'll start off. I think from my position in data operations, it would be really amazing if there was already a central platform for us to share data internally with agencies. That would be the most efficient boost to our project.
Yeah, I totally agree with Cynthia as well. Where like if the data sets had a common platform, if we didn't have to integrate the data from different sources into the open data portal, if we already had such system, then it would have been very efficient for us to carry out with this portal. So yeah, I do agree with Cynthia.
I can answer as well. Our challenge is a bit different. Israel is quite a centralized national governance, and issues, as I said, tend to be local, but the data is managed, or part of it is managed at the national scale. And for us, it would be helpful both technically and also the data structure, if it would be easier to connect it to operational data, because the data is run by the government, but in order, we need to make it easier to connect it to operational data. All we need is one field from the data set that can help us to connect. And what we try to do in our project is to build it, actually.
I think for the city of Albuquerque, it's hard to dwindle it down to one, but I would really say capacity. We have a pretty small city government that functions to serve just, I mean, each of us have, I don't know, maybe 8 projects on our plate that are pretty big. So it's a pretty small operation, and we serve, close to 600,000, 550,000 people, right? And so I would say additional capacity. I mean, our general revenue funding. I mean, our revenue funding is just it's not where it's at in order to support a larger municipal system. And so when integrating both equity and data governance, it's a really big task, and just takes some time and a lot of additional staff in order to move those efforts forward.
Well, for me, I would like to reduce the time for testing the tools. It's really too long. We are dealing now with that, so I think it will cost us more time than we think.
Is there a way to reduce the time that you see?
Just yesterday, I was talking about this with Adrian. January and February are 2 months where people here take holidays, and also COVID has brought us a big problem. So every chief or every leader starts taking things seriously on March. But well, in our case, we are trying to accelerate these things, but we also need that the traffic department to buy some tablets so the agent can test the tool. But what we are now thinking to test it with the phones, but it's not our final thought about the use of the tool.
I also just have another question, which is like some people were mentioning just sharing data between cities. Is that a issue with data privacy? Yeah, just especially when you go from one country to another, but even within a country, if you're sharing from like one US state to another, is data privacy an issue there? I know that like in the medical domain, you know, a lot of stuff like using machine learning for like cancer detection or COVID detection. It's hard to, the more data you have, the better the model, but it's hard to share the data across hospitals because the data is private. So I would imagine the same thing is true from, you know, one institution to another with government related issues.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned that platform, like we already have an open data portal, but there's a lot of data we need to share internally with city agencies that has sensitive information in it. You know, people who are using city services, you don't want to give out their personally identifiable information on the open data portal. So something that we would like to exist to increase that efficiency is a really easy to use, centrally located, secure way to share data between agencies within New York City.
Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. So we are right at the clock. I would like to invite everyone to a round of applause. I know it's Zoom, but thank you everyone for being here today. Thank you for making yourselves available in many different time zones, and we were glad to have you in this seminar. And I personally have a few more questions that maybe I will follow up offline. Thank you everyone for being here today.